Right.
So this is a new video now. In the last one, we talked about the question of trust. We avoided talking about political issues in this one, although that's also part of it. People have to be trusting, and one thing we can talk about though is the issue of money in terms of trust. If people don't trust the money that is in their pockets, that it will still be worth the same thing tomorrow. One of the differences between animals and human beings is that human beings, the human mind can extrapolate into the future. Okay, so we have a concept of tomorrow, whereas most animals have no concept of tomorrow. They live in the now. Okay, but human beings can extrapolate what is going to happen tomorrow, which is why we get stressed out. Because I think we can foretell what might happen if we haven't paid our bills and stuff like that. So that the source of our stress is our ability, the ability of the human mind to extrapolate into the future and be able to come up with scenarios of what might happen if this does not. So when it comes to money, we can extrapolate what might happen if the money loses value while it's in my hands. So I think that's one thing, that if you do trust the money, like for example, people trust the US dollar more than certain other currencies, because they know that the US dollar is a dollar today, is a dollar tomorrow. Okay, inflation is very slow, and most people will not see inflation taking place. But if you compare 10 years ago and today, you might notice that there's been inflation. And your money is now worth less than it used to be worth, but it's a slow process. In an economy where the money is not trusted, it can lose value very quickly. But we wanted to talk about growth points. I know that there was something called Mindamerefu as well. Mindamerefu was when people were being moved from less fertile areas where they were crowded. Okay, so some of the relatives they moved to other places where they were given places to farm. But there was also this phenomenon of growth points, and the growth point was like a place where it was like a business center for the community, and people would build shops there. There would be butcheries, probably a clinic. Maybe a police station. Not all the growth points would have a police station, but some of them did have a police station. So you had like a mini place of growth where business could be taking place. So what happened to those? Do you have any idea?
Yeah. Do you know what? I mean, this topic of growth point came up from yesterday's topic, which was about numbers, and we used the example of bricks.
Yeah,
and how bricks grew from one brick to a wall, to 4 walls, then to a house, then to houses, and
they all
then we come back to a place where we eventually mentioned the growth point.
Yes.
Now you've mentioned that at the growth point there was businesses and there was a police station and there was that kind of thing. But maybe the question we need to think about is the growth point that I know when I was a child is still called the growth point even today. So the question, why are the growth points not growing? Okay? Now we can attribute that one to
the wider economy.
No, I don't think it has nothing to do with the economy.
Yeah,
it has to do with knowledge.
Yeah,
it has to do with understanding.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned that at a growth point there's a police station, there's a shopping center, and that kind of thing. In any environment where people come together, there will be issues of security. There will be issues of food. People will need to eat.
Yeah.
So a growth point is a place of growth. It is supposed to grow. I mean, I can use the example of a growth point that I know when I was a child was Gokwe Center.
Yeah.
There were two shops, because there's more shops now. But if you look at the speed of growth,
yes,
is not exponential, because besides the two shops, there was a hospital, there was a police camp as well. So why did those things? Why is Gokwe Point not growing as much as Kwekwe has grown, or as much as Bulawayo has grown? That is what we need to be asking ourselves. It can come back to the question of trust. Yeah, because what we are saying then is, who is at the growth point? What business is going on at the growth point? What can attract the people to come to the growth point? At the moment, the people are attracted to go to the growth point to go and buy food and go back home, to go and have fun for the night and go back home, isn't it? But can people see business opportunities at a growth point? And can people take those business opportunities? Yeah. So the growth points are not growing because people are not taking up business opportunities. Yeah. Because, like I said, where there is a gathering of people, there will be a number of issues, including security, including food, and that kind of thing. So I can go back to Gokwe again and say, Gokwe, as far as I'm aware, at the moment, still doesn't have a supermarket. Yeah. If it has a supermarket, it must have been put there in recent years. Yeah. Okay. But then, no one has seen that opportunity that we need a supermarket at Gokwe Growth Point. Now, if there was a supermarket at Gokwe Growth Point, it is not the police that are going to come and keep security at the growth point. So we'll need security guards. So that's another opportunity coming up as well, of someone saying, I can offer my services to be the security guard for the supermarket.
Yes.
Yeah. That is one area. But also, besides the supermarket, the people that are going to be working at the supermarket, instead of them waking up in the morning, going back to different places, they will need houses to stay or to live in.
Yeah.
So, one, you will need a builder that is going to be building the houses, but so that people can live in those houses. But then that's one business of building houses. But then you also need someone who's going to be molding the bricks. So that's another business there. So the people that are molding bricks will need somewhere to live. The people that are building houses will need somewhere to live. The people that are working in the supermarket will need somewhere to live. And so it goes back to planning. So are we planning growth? And how are we implementing growth? How are we luring people to come to the growth point? What interest is there for people to grow? I mean, I know that at the Gokwe Center now, there's banks and there's all sorts of things. But it is not a town. It is not a city. And I mean, I can tell you, I know Gokwe from when I was a child, 1973, when I used to go there when there were two shops.
Yeah.
And so if it had been planned, for example, like Bulawayo was planned, yeah, the town planners would have made the roads and made all the servicing and everything else.
Yeah. But you realize that Bulawayo, for example, it was a place that it was like the industrial hub of the country, and it was attracting. There were jobs, and people were attracted to jobs in Bulawayo, so they would come into Bulawayo. That means now you've got people that are going to get employed, and when they do get employed, they're going to get paid, and when they get paid, they are going to want to spend. Okay, in the shops, and they're going to want to keep money in the banks. So you've got a place where there's a market for say, if you want to open a supermarket, there's going to be a market because there are going to be people. There's going to be a demand for products and services, and there's going to be so shops and other businesses would be encouraged to open because then they know that there's a market for them. If you look at growth points, most of what's happening at a growth point now is that families of children are growing. As soon as they finish their O levels, they are leaving. Okay, especially if you go to the Gwanda area, they are leaving to go to South Africa, most of them, and so because they have left, then what you have is less demand, because there are no jobs. There's nothing to attract people to come and work there. Okay, everything points towards people leaving that place. So what you have are the elderly who have remained there, and they only go to the shops once, maybe every 2 or 3 days, to get a few supplies. But otherwise, you've got places which are not growing. Why? Because the number one thing that's missing there is job opportunities. There's no employment.
Sorry.
And for someone to want to start a business there, I think they'll be looking at, is there a market for my products? Unless if you were to say that somebody thinks, okay, if I go to a growth point, and has it got electricity, for example, that if I was to set up my business, I can make products which I can then sell maybe in town, because the manufacturing costs might be cheaper, and I might get cheap labor from maybe the local people there.
But you know, at Zimpreneurs, we encourage people to think like business people.
Yes.
That is our aim, to encourage people to think like business people. Now, we can't talk of there are no jobs, yeah? Because you have people living Gwanda going to work in Bulawayo. You have people living Gokwe going to work in Bulawayo.
Because there are jobs in Bulawayo.
Because there are jobs in Bulawayo.
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself, so who created the jobs in Bulawayo?
Yeah? Yes.
Bulawayo, started also as a growth point. Yeah? And then there was job creation within Bulawayo. And so because there was job creation, people planned Bulawayo to be what it is. They saw it a long way away, and planned it to be what it is now. Yeah. So we need to be thinking as well about these growth points as well, to say, right, if you plan about growth, you will definitely grow, because you're planning about growing. It's even like, when you're thinking of an ordinary business, wherever you're running that business, you have to think of growth all the time. So
I suspect that the plans for growth are probably there, but the implementation did not take place. Because what I've noticed with most of the projects which are taking place in Africa is that we make a plan, and then we cost the plan, after we've costed the plan, we expect the funding to come from outside the country. I think that is the biggest problem. So when those funds do not come in, then the project becomes a white elephant. We've got projects that are started when initial funds are maybe released, but after some time, when the funds stop coming in, the project just stops, because it's relying on, even if you look at Zim Asset, for example, I suspect that at one point they said, you need about 20 billion or 30 billion US dollars. And where is that money coming from? They expect that the money is going to come from somewhere, from outside the country. And when we do that, that's when most of the projects that we try to do become white elephants.
Exactly. Well, this is what I'm saying, that at Zimpreneurs, then we are trying to encourage people to think business like business people. You can't plan a business based on a donation.
Yeah.
You can't plan a town based on donations. You have to plan a town based on the resources around that place.
Yes.
For example, I'll refer you to the Gokwe place. Gokwe place is known for producing cotton. Yeah. So if one person decided that they were going to plow 30 acres of cotton, they are definitely going to need labor to be able to work on the farm.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when they have planted 30 hectares of cotton, they definitely have to be looking for the market for that cotton. So if they go to Kadoma and say that I am expecting to produce 100 tons of cotton, yeah, I need to come and sell them to you, isn't it? So that I can pay my workers, isn't it? So he already has a market at the Kadoma, what you call cotton printers, isn't it? Yeah. So that's one area. But also, Goko is known for its agriculture productivity. So, but then what we're saying is people need to be thinking big. People need to be thinking, instead of plowing a field of 5 acres, people need to be thinking of plowing a farm of 30 acres, 100 acres, isn't it? And not only think about feeding my family, but think about feeding the nation.
So without actually realizing it, I think now you've come into the definition of capital and how to build capital. So instead of thinking about money as a resource that you need to get started, people should be trying to create their own capital from the growth point.
Exactly. So this is you see, this is what happens at Zimpreneurs now. Capital is the bottom line. If you have your plans, that this started from a growth point. We need to have the plans to grow. So when we have the plans to grow, then how do we implement our plans to grow without necessarily having to ship people to go and work somewhere else?
Yes.
So the growth points are not growing because people are thinking like individuals and are thinking at the local level.
So I saw a picture today of people who are sleeping while they wait to sell their tobacco. And I was just thinking, why are all these people coming, bringing all their tobacco to one place? Whereas if you look at the growth points that we're talking about, for example, there could be like a place at each growth point where they can bring their cotton and sell it there. Maybe the the tobacco industry could set up places, at growth points or storage areas where people can come and sell directly to the government, maybe from at growth point, and then from the growth point that tobacco will be picked up and then sent to their various areas.
Exactly. But instead of waiting for the tobacco buyers to come and set up something, we go back to trust. If we as community members trust each other, I bring my tobacco, you bring your tobacco, they bring their tobacco, we put together, we have one person who is going to take our tobacco to Harare, to Boka, whatever.
That's another option.
Exactly. So I mean, it comes to trust. So if we work together this year and it works for us, then next year, instead of just meeting at the growth point, next year we will work together in the farm. Yeah. So whatever we produce, it's for us all. So we are now directors of a farm.
Yeah, I think yesterday we even talked about how, for example, we know how many families we have. We know how much food we need. So there's no need to plant a lot of maize, which we're not going to need. But if there's a crop that we could say, your farm is just going to produce food for the community. Then the other farms, we can work together and say, okay, on this farm, let's produce maybe tobacco as a collective. And then we work together, we collect that tobacco, we send one person to go and sell. But again, it's a question of trust.
Yes. So we are not growing because we are still thinking as individuals. We are still thinking as cluster families, instead of thinking as a community.
Yeah.
Because I read a book that said that if you are going to get rich, your aim should be to make other people rich. That is how you get rich. So for as long as I am aiming to make myself rich, there is no way that I'm going to get rich. But if I then start by saying, I want you to be rich, I want that one to be rich, I want that one to be rich, then that's, as a result, you get rich like that.
Yeah, because everyone works hard when they know that they are going to get rich, not to make someone else rich.
Exactly. So that's the idea.
Okay.
So our growth points then are not growing because we are thinking individually.
Yeah.
We are thinking about a small place.
Yeah.
Once I have my place to live, then I'm fine. But we're not thinking about the future generations. Because I mean, if we were thinking the way we are thinking now, and obviously our leaders in Gokwe, for example, were thinking the way we are thinking now, they would have the laid out plans for Gokwe, which I want to believe they have, and then they will begin to implement them, at exponential level, because we have a lot of labor within and around the Gokwe area, and we have a lot of resources which could all be sold at Gokwe Center there. And then people, for example, there's a lot of tomatoes around Gokwe there. Now, instead of each one carrying a bucket going to Kwekwe to sell their buckets.
I was very upset the other day when someone said, they throw away tomatoes because they are going bad. You know how we have challenges with storage.
Yes.
So some of the tomatoes are being thrown away when those tomatoes could be making tomato sauce and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of throwing them away. So, but of course, it's a question of, I think our purpose at Zimpreneurs is to make people aware of those ideas.
Yeah.
And then of course implementing them. I mean, people can contact us via Zimpreneurs there. We can discuss ideas with them. We can share in terms of this is how people can start, this is where people can start, and this is how things can move forward. That is the purpose of Zimpreneurs.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I think we've had another fruitful discussion.
Okay.
My wish is that we have these discussions every day. Because I think
by all means, we can have them every day.
There's a lot that we can share with the rest of our fellow countrymen. If you've been watching us on the Zimpreneurs Facebook page, we are logging off now. We've just been discussing the issue of growth points and what we can do with them in terms of our understanding of capital. And so instead of just waiting for money to come from outside the country to kickstart projects, let's think of innovative ways around the capital that is there, because the most important thing that we have is the people, and it's the piece of land on which we live. Everything else, we can create money, out of thin air. We can print money. We can do all sorts of things with it. But the important thing is that we understand the value of the land we're on and the value of the people of Zimbabwe, because those two things are the most important thing. Those are the things we can create the capital, which is already the capital is already around us. We just need to be aware of it. It's like sometimes it's like you are standing in water, but you are thirsty because you don't realize that your feet are in water. So we are drowning with natural resources in Zimbabwe. But if we do not realize it, then we're going to continue to expect someone else to print money. I took a picture at the Federal Reserve the other day. I was in Washington. And I said, this is a place where they are printing the money that you want, but they're just printing it, out of thin air, fiat currency. And so we accept that money and we're giving away all our resources. So I want to thank you again for participating in today's discussion. Yesterday we had another one. Hopefully in the next 2-3 days we'll have more. My wish is that we have these on a daily basis, because I think people can benefit from it. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you. My pleasure.